Hello everybody, Mark here. Welcome to Resonant Explained Thermal Expansion Part 3. In this part we're going to be taking a look at item, fluid, and energy transportation that is offered by thermal expansion, as well as we're going to be going over tesseracts, the new tesseract actually, which have a little harder crafting recipe, but they're so cool. They're so much better than the old tesseracts. You're going to love them. As well as we're going to be going over some of the features that the item ducts have. You can color the pipes and do some stuff with them, so we'll take a look at that right there. So why don't we jump right into it? So the first thing you're probably going to want to use out of these three is going to be the energy conduits, is what they're called. And there's three tiers. There's leadstone, hardened, and redstone. And the leadstone and hardened aren't terrible to make. So if we just type, if we go to the leadstone conduit, the crafting, you can look up all these crafting recipes if you want to actually. But this is one of the parts we're going to be needing the lead. And I guess you can just use any type of glass and you'll get 6 per recipe. So the leadstone conduits are fairly cheap to make. You can find lead basically anywhere you go mining. It's a very common ore to find. And it's not terribly hard to make. And they have a low redstone flux per tick. It's only 40. Which means you'll be able to power all your basic furnaces. But once you get up to higher tier furnaces or have multiple machines on a single energy line, you're going to find that your machines aren't receiving enough power. So you might want to upgrade to the hardened, which is 10 times as much as the leadstone. You're going from 40 to 400 to the hardened conduit. So there's not much to say about that. Just goes from 40 RF per tick to 400 RF per tick. And then right after that is the redstone conduit, which is massive. Like the energy cap between the hardened and the redstone is huge. And to make the redstone one, it's a little bit different. So we looked at the leadstone recipe. If we look at the hardened recipe, it's just a kind of upgraded version of the leadstone. Oops, sorry. It's just an upgraded version of the leadstone conduit. Right here. So you can see you take 3 of the leadstone, some redstone, and an invar. So this is where you're going to need some of the new ore the thermal expansion gives you, and you'll get some hardened conduit. Pretty simple, self-explanatory there. However, to get the redstone conduit, if we type in redstone energy conduit actually, is what it's actually called, you can see that there's this redstone energy conduit empty, which is you're going to have to make first. So you make that using electrum, which is an ore by thermal expansion, and you make it using the induction furnace, as you saw in the last tutorial, plus the hardened glass, or I guess you can use, because there's other mods, you can use their glass too. But then you'll get empty energy redstone conduit. And then you need to fill that with destabilized redstone. So if you see here, you need the empty energy conduit. Then you need to go into the magma crucible, which you saw in the last tutorial. And then you put in redstone and you'll get destabilized redstone, or liquid redstone's the easy way to remember as liquid redstone. And then you take that liquid from there and then you put it into a fluid transposer. And in the fluid transposer, you have the fluid transposer put the liquid into the empty redstone energy conduits, and then you'll get redstone energy conduits. And that is 10,000 RF per tick. That is huge. That's a lot of redstone flux per tick. And also, each individual energy conduit itself, depending on the tier, also stores a little bit of power within the conduit itself. So once it's done putting all the power through, if there's nowhere more to give, if there's nothing else to give power to, it will keep a little bit of charge in each energy block itself. Alright, right after the conduits, we'll get into fluid ducts, and there's 2 types of fluid ducts. There's the clear, normal fluid duct, and then the opaque fluid duct. The opaque fluid duct is more of the early game start because it has a little bit of a cheaper recipe, whereas the clear fluid duct, you can see your liquid actually flowing through there. Either way, you can just hover over it with the Wayla plugin or Wayla mod, and you can still, on the very top of my screen, you can see it says fluid duct opaque right now, and then fluid duct and nothing. And then underneath it says empty. It'll still tell you the fluid that's in there, even if it's a opaque one. It's just, you can't actually see the liquid flowing through. And the opaque one is a little bit cheaper, but it's all really kind of optional. So that's the fluid duct. And next is the item duct. And the item duct is basically really similar to the fluid duct. There's an opaque version and a non-opaque version. And I'll get into more of the features of the fluid duct, or the item duct, just after I show you the impulse one here. It's not much to say about that, just the clear one and then the opaque one. And then the impulse item duct is a little bit more difficult to make. So if I bring up the impulse item duct, It's similar to the redstone conduit. So you can see if we go here, you'll need a normal item duct, which you make from tin, and then the hardened glass again. And then instead of filling it with destabilized redstone as you did for the energy conduit, you take an energized glowstone. So you put glowstone into the magma crucible to get liquid glowstone. Then you put that in the fluid transposer, and then you have the energized glowstone going into the item duct, and this will just make your items transfer much faster through the tube. Your items will travel much quicker through. So let's get into some features of the item ducts. You're going to do this, you're going to need a pneumatic servo and a crescent hammer to access all the features. So I have a crescent hammer here, so I'll just pull up the pneumatic servo. And so here is a chest. We'll have this as our input chest. I have some various amounts of items in here. And let's get right onto it. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to install a pneumatic servo. And the only way you'll be able to actually access it is you can put it on a pipe, just like I have here. But the only way you'll be able to access it is if the pipe is connected to something, because you have to actually right-click on this section to access it. If this isn't connected to anything, you won't have this little addition here, and you won't be able to actually physically access your servo. Because you can see here, I can right-click on it, and it says the pneumatic servo must be installed. But over here, I can actually right-click on it. So anyway, there is an inventory size, or a stack size over here that you can choose how many items you want to pull out. And if you shift-click, it'll go down by 32s. So to kind of get there faster than each individual click by itself. And then we'll go over to the 4 tabs over here. So there's blacklist and whitelist. So blacklist means if you're having the item duct pulling items out of the chest, the blacklist means it will pull out any item coming out of that inventory, whether that's a quarry, a chest, any kind of inventory system or anything having items flow through that particular pipe from that particular inventory system. A blacklist will pull out everything except anything that's in the GUI here, which would be considered to be on the blacklist. Whitelist does the opposite of that. It will only pull items that are in this section here. So if there was only copper ore in here, out of all of this stuff, it would only pull the copper ore and nothing else. If we had it to blacklist mode and copper was in here, it would pull everything except the copper ore. And next part we have the metadata. And metadata is its damage values or kind of blocks of the same type, but usually kind of different color. And wool is a perfect example of this. So if we go to wool and we search up wool, you can see the item ID for wool, for white wool, normal wool, is 35. And then if we go to orange wool, you can see it's 35, 1. That comma 1 is its metadata. So if you just had this thing sorting by item value, or the item ID, you would see 35, but it would treat all of these as white wool as well. It wouldn't recognize that metadata. So if you only wanted white wool to come through here, and you had metadata turned off, it would treat all these other types of wool, or all the other kind of normal vanilla Minecraft wools, as white wool as well, because it ignores the metadata. Whereas if you put metadata on and then just have white wool in the GUI, it will be able to distinguish each color of wool from each other. Alright, that's pretty cool. Alright, the next is I'll get to use that one last actually. This is the MBT button. Now, the MBT button is actually very, very, very cool. And I'm going to need to use Florbs for this example, because the MBT button goes even one step farther than metadata. And so if we look at the magmatic Florb lava, you can see its item ID is 8460, 1. Alright, that's fine. But, okay, so we could just use the metadata value to distinguish it because there's a 1 next to it. No. Look at the molten obsidian one. Its item ID value is also 8460, 1. And then you can see this liquid blue slime and protein are just 8460. They have the same item ID. And the magmatic Florb molten obsidian and magmatic Florb lava also have the same item ID. So whoa, how are we supposed to distinguish them apart? Well, that is where MBT comes into play. MBT doesn't just look at the item, or every single possible item ID value it gives you, including metadata. It looks into the item itself and kind of distinguishes it. You can think of it by name. It physically looks what's inside the item. So if we used MBT data, Now it would be able to distinguish a lava florb from a molten obsidian florb, and would be able to distinguish a blue slime florb from a protein florb. This is for very, very specific sorting, but it's one of the first times I've ever seen something using the MBT data function. And this is probably the next one is the coolest one of all, is the use or dictionary. This one is awesome. If you use this for sorting, you're going to love it. So you can see in the chest here, I have two types of copper. I have mariculture copper and copper ore. And if I did not use ore dictionary, which a lot of things do, and I just put in, so say I had some sort of, I don't know, sorting system, and I just put in the mariculture copper, it would just pull in mariculture copper and leave all this other copper behind because it doesn't distinguish thermal expansion copper from mariculture copper. Well, this item filter has access to the ore dictionary, where if I click ore dictionary, it will be able, if I could just put in mariculture copper, and now we'll be able to say, okay, well, you want copper ore, but now it's assuming you want all copper ore from any mod, as long as it's in the ore dictionary, which most mods are nowadays. So it will pull the thermal expansion ore. If there was industrial craft 2 in here, it would pull IC2 copper ore. So if we just type in copper ore, we'll see how many copper ores there actually are. So yeah, there's a ton of copper ores. Galactic Craft, Tinker's Construct, Forestry for Minecraft, Metallurgy, Thermal Expansion, Ex Nihilo, Mechanism, E-Masters Resources, and Mariculture itself. It will, and even another one, Galacticraft and Galacticraft Mars. It'll think of all those coppers, and it'll be able to recognize if you just pick one of those coppers, you want all the coppers. Alright, so that's as much as you can do with and then you can control it by redstone as well. So we'll just have that set to off at the moment. So, oh, shoot. It's going to start pulling out items. Shoot. Alright. Never mind. That's fine. We can leave those. Alright, so the next option is now you're going to need your crescent hammer. And if you right click on a item duct, and this doesn't have to be connected to a chest or anything, so we'll actually do it with this one. You can change it. There's two original modes. It's dense and vacuum, and I'll go back to normal. So dense mode, shoot, it should have, okay, sorry. Okay, so dense mode basically means, so when items are going, let's restart this kind of little, if items are going through an item duct, it wants to find the shortest possible route to get to its destination. Alright, we can live with that. It wants to get to the shortest possible route to get to its destination. Okay, so here you can see that the item destination, or the distance the item can travel is the exact same. So it'll be kind of random which side the items go to. But let's say we want it filling up this chest first, and then we want it filling up this chest. If we change this pipe here to dense, this one pipe has now become the distance of 1,000 pipes. Items now recognize a pipe with dense as if it was 1,000 pipe space in between. So the items can either travel 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks technically, or 1,004 blocks. So items will go here first, and now once this chest is filled up, the only other option is to go this direction. So this is kind of you can think of it as an overflow system. Items will always go somewhere unless this is the only other option left. And the opposite of that is the vacuum. The vacuum does the exact opposite of the dense. No matter, we could have a chest right here, and the vacuum we could have this vacuum tube 1,000 blocks away, and we could have a chest right here, and the vacuum will pull in all items towards it first, and then do its normal sorting method. Alright, that's fine. And I'm not sure why it is, hold on, let me try it on this one maybe. Okay, maybe I have to actually do it on, there we go, okay, round robin. So you have to do it, so this third option you have to do on an actual pipe that's connected to an inventory system, and it's called round robin. And what round robin does is it will send out an item or an item stack this way, and then it'll go that way, and then the next one that comes out will go that way. So if you have like 10 chests connected, so you have this and then there's 10 chests, it will put one item into each chest and then restart from the first chest and go back and forth. So it separates all items evenly throughout all the inventory systems that you have. So that's what round robin does, and that's the third and final control for these pipes. So if you right click, it'll cycle through dense, which tries to, it becomes a last resort inventory system, vacuum will suck in as many items towards it as it can, and then round robin will it will distribute all items evenly throughout every inventory system. So there you go. It's pretty cool, actually. So we can start moving on now, and the next part coming up, which is all this, is all tesseracts, and tesseracts are sweet. Okay, so first I'm just going to teach you how to create a frequency of a tesseract. And tesseracts are also awesome because you can have it on a public access. So if you're a nice guy, you can create a free energy frequency or a free lava frequency or something. But these are all the ones I'll be using in the tutorial later on in this episode. So we'll just set it to owner only. And if you set it to owner only, it will not show any public mode. So it only shows your frequencies. So to create a frequency, you want to type in the frequency name. So we'll just call this test, or no, we'll call it tutorial FRQ for frequency. And then we have to give the frequency a number, and we'll just give it 101, or we can't, 101. There we go. And then once you do that, once you type in a new name for frequency, if it is a new frequency, you hit the plus first, which adds it to this list with the new frequency number, and then you click on that, and then it doesn't really show anything, but once you click on it, hit set frequency, and now this tesseract is set to the tutorial frequency. So if we make another frequency in the same tesseract, and we'll call this, I don't know, hello, and we give it a new frequency, we'll call it 100, and we hit the plus to add hello down here, and we click on hello, and then hit plus, it'll switch to that frequency. Now if we exit this and we clear the bench here, and if we type in a frequency, so we put in 101 again, you can see it brings up tutorial FRQ, which can help stop you from kind of copying over other frequencies, which can be kind of nice. So in the new tesseracts, within one block can transport, actually we'll go back to this one for this. The new tesseracts can now transport items, fluid, and energy all within one tesseract. So for fluids, you can see here, I have a tesseract set on a water frequency of 1. It is set to not transfer any items, not transfer any energy, but only send fluids. And then I have another tesseract over here that is set to, rain, get out of here. And so this is only set to only receive fluids. All right, that's great. So if we turn on, hold on, I have something turned off here, and I am not sure what it is. Okay. I think I did update this pack, so there could be some sort of bug, because it should technically be running fine. It could be the aqueous accumulator, actually. So if we put this back down. Huh. Interesting. Un momento. Let's get a lever. Shoot. Huh. It should, okay. I'm not sure why. It should be. We have both frequencies set. It should be transporting. I had trouble setting up the liquid ones earlier, but it was working. Once it was working, it never failed. But then I kind of reloaded the world and updated and stuff, so it kind of messed up a bit. But it should be transferring water. I'm not sure why it's not. You just have to trust me that this works. You can kind of play around, but that's what the liquid setting on it does anyway. The next one will go to items. So I have a chest here full of oak planks, and I have it set to, you can see, item send only, and fluid and energy mode are blocked, and I have it set on a item frequency. And then I have this one also on a item frequency and set to receive items only. And I have a impulse item duct and then a normal item duct, so you can see the speed difference. So I have a chest here full of oak planks, and if I flick the lever, you can see oak planks go up. And then on this side, you can see oak planks are now coming out of this tesseract just through magical space. And these tesseracts can be thousands upon thousands of blocks apart. The tesseracts are even interdimensional. So if you have a mining mistcraft age that you have a quarry set up in or something, they are interdimensional even. And now you can see they're going into here, and they're being emptied out of here. Perfect. It's so cool. And next up, we have the energy. This one is really cool because if you want to set up a quarry somewhere, you got to set up a power generation next to the quarry. Well, now you can just have a power generation set up in your house permanently, and then just power your quarry via tesseracts, which are very, very convenient and very cool. So I have it on a energy frequency I've made, and I have it set to send energy only because I have fluid and items set to default, or to nothing. and you just kind of toggle through till it's off. That's how you do that. And I have a resonant energy cell, which is outputting to the right and is currently on. And then I have a tesseract, or not a tesseract, an energy cell over here that is empty. So if I make the connection, you can now see that this tesseract, this energy cell is charging and is now receiving power from this resonant energy cell. You can now see is draining. And this doesn't have to be an energy cell. It could be a quarry, it could be machines, it could be, I don't know, you want to give power to your friend's house. It can be anything that requires a leadstone that requires energy. Very, 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 very cool. Super cool. And now I have kind of a demonstration just for a proof of concept of the fact that there are three options. You can have liquid, energy, and items going through one tesseract all at the same time. Well, this is weird. This aqueous accumulator seems to be working. What's up with that? Alright, well anyway, so if we go to the item one and we flick the lever, it should start pulling. Alright, it's pulling all our copper ore out, and the copper ore out is coming out here. And I just have it set to a all frequency, which you can name these frequencies anything you want. But I have this one set to item receive only, fluid receive only, and energy receive only. And I have this one set to item send only, fluid send only, and energy send only, which is really cool. And let's try the fluid now. So we make the connection on the pipe here. Shoop. It should be filling. Yep, it is. You can see the tank level on the very top is going up, and you can visually see that the tank is filling up with water. Sweet. Awesome. All right. So now let's go to the resonant energy cell. And if we just make the connection right here, it should, you can see now, yep, the leadstone energy cell is now filling up with energy, which is super cool. We have items, liquid, and energy going through one pipe all at the same time, or not through one pipe, through one tesseract all at the same time. Much more convenient, or much more kind of efficient than the old tesseract system, where you had to specifically make an item, a fluid, or an energy tesseract as one. Now, although the recipes are a little bit different, they're a little more of a later game item. They're way, 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 way cooler, and they're just so much. I love the new tesseracts. So that should be the part 3 of the tutorial series. Part 4 and the final part will be going over some miscellaneous blocks, and we'll be teaching you how to use florbs and what exactly florbs do. So I hope you enjoyed part 4. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you part 3. I hope you enjoyed part 3. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the final part 4 later this week. Bye.